Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So in today's video, I want to film a quick get ready with me for date night. So I have a bunch of new products that I haven't tried out, and so I thought it would be fun to film a video featuring all of them for you guys. So to quickly just run through what we'll be going over today. So I have this new contour palette from Scott Barnes. This is from my latest IPSY Glam Bag X. So I've never tried Scott Barnes before, but I was really intrigued by this palette. It has basically every single shade you would ever need for sculpting your face. And so I'm really excited to try this out. I also have this new eyeshadow palette from Athr Beauty. As you all know, I'm not a huge clean beauty fan, but I do really like Athr Beauty when it comes to their eyeshadow formulas. So this is a really beautiful package and color story. So I'm really excited to dip into this palette today. And then I also have this Mercier Lightcatcher setting powder. I'm planning on using this as a highlighter. I think this came out a while back and got pretty mixed reviews. I think people said it was way too glittery for a setting powder, but some folks really enjoy this for highlight. So I'm excited to try this out. And then I also have this brow pen from Benefit. This has 3 little tips on it. Let me show you guys a close-up. So it should draw some nice hair-like strokes. I've never used a product like this before. I feel like these were really trendy a while back, but I never really caught on to that trend. So I am super curious how well this will work and whether it'll actually give me those nice hair-like strokes that are so elusive in the brow department. And then other than that, there are a few samples that I've been wanting to try out for a while. So I've heard amazing things about this Milk Hydro Grip Primer. And then I'm gonna pair that with this RMS Beauty Foundation, and then these new M Cosmetics Serum blushes. So I have the original formula, and I'm gonna try that out against this new formula. So if you're interested in any of these products or just wanna get ready with me today, just stick around. So let's start off with primer. So I'm really excited for this. I've actually been saving this sample for a while because I've heard such amazing things about this primer from you guys. And so I'm really excited to try this out. There's actually a lot of product in this, so I only took out a small amount, but you can see that's already quite a bit. So I don't know. I'm going to try to keep this a little bit light because I feel like with primers you don't want a really thick layer. I might have to waste some of this product, unfortunately. But yeah, actually a little bit is covering pretty much all of my face. This is supposed to be a pretty sticky primer that really adheres to your skin and ensures that your base products stay all day. At least that's my understanding of the reputation for this. I think there's also a e.l.f. version that is kind of duping this primer because it's such a cult favorite. But wow, yeah, a little bit went a long way. I feel kind of bad. I'm gonna have to just waste the product that's left on my hand, but maybe I can store the rest of this somewhere and use it another day. It feels really comfortable on the skin. I feel like it left a bit of a hydrated look to my face. It's a bit glowy and dewy. I don't feel like it's too sticky. It is a little bit sticky, but I was a little worried it would be uncomfortably so, and it's definitely not uncomfortably sticky. So I'm not sure really if I'm supposed to let this dry. I guess I'll go ahead and just swatch the foundation for you guys while we let this sit for a moment. So this is the RMS ReEvolve Natural Finish Foundation. I feel like this came out a little while ago and everyone tried it and it was sort of mixed reviews. So I didn't feel like I needed to run out and get it immediately, but I was intrigued enough to get this sample. So I think 22 is probably going to be the best shade for me. Let me just open this up and see. So this is shade 22. Yeah, I think that's probably going to be the best match for me today. Let's go ahead and dot this around my face. It's a little bit yellowy compared to my complexion, but hopefully this still works. And if it doesn't, I'll go in with a little bit of the 00 shade. Hopefully that's a little bit cooler toned. And I'm gonna just go in with my BK Beauty 101 brush. This is my current favorite brush for concealer. So let's see how this applies. Oh, Ooh, this is applying pretty well. I think the shade actually looks pretty decent. And this does look like it's going to be a nice satin finish. Now, RMS is a clean beauty brand. I didn't really intend this to be a video of clean beauty, but I feel like it's starting to become that way. So here we have one light layer on, and I feel like this actually looks pretty good. I'm gonna add a little bit more today. I feel like usually I could just stop here and then go in with concealer, but I am really curious to actually test out this foundation. So I'm going to go in with one more layer and then we'll go in with concealer. So I'm basically using up this little sample, but I think that's okay because the brush does absorb a decent amount of product, so it doesn't really feel cakey on the skin. Should probably wear a hairband when I do makeup. I feel like I'm constantly battling with all of my baby hairs. Alrighty, so here we have the foundation mostly worked in. I think I'm gonna have to go in with a smaller brush in the center of my face. This brush is a little bit big to buff out that area. But on the whole, I think it's looking pretty nice, and the shade match is also decent. For concealer today, I don't have a new one to demo, so I'm just gonna go in with my trusty Dior Forever Skin Correct concealer. This has been kind of my go-to ever since picking it up. But hard for me to return to any other concealers since then. And I also don't have a new eye primer, so I'm just going to use my ABH eye primer. So with the concealer out of the way, I've brought you guys in for the brow portion. So let's just go directly in with this little brow pen. Usually I would go in with just a brow pencil, but let's see how this works. Okay, interesting. So it's definitely not super pigmented, which I'm glad for because I was a little bit worried this would look very intense. But I feel like it's actually leaving a pretty nice tint on the brows. And I feel like when you get to the edge, you can sort of turn it on its side. So if you want to just do individual strokes, you can do it that way. Or you can turn it this way to have those 3 strokes. Pretty nice, actually. I mean, this part doesn't look the most natural up front, but pretty good considering this is a pen. For context, I'm not a huge fan of brow pens normally. I do have the ABH brow pen and never really integrated it into my regular routine because I just find pencils easier to work with. But I do really like that this one is not too pigmented. Because my challenge always is kind of overdoing the brow product. But I feel like because this is pretty light, it's not actually drawing on really thick or intense lines. To be honest, I'm not actually sure if it's drawing on that much. I don't know. Can you guys see much? I don't know if there's a way to like shake the product out or get more pigmentation. Definitely it's looking very natural, for better or worse. Really go ham with this and see if we can see more pigment. Yeah, I'm a little bit confused about the pigmentation here. Let me actually just try to draw this on my arm. Yeah, I think you guys can see there's not really much pigment that comes out. Like a bit, yeah, if you really scratch it on like that, you can see a tiny bit of pigment. So yeah, does it look good on the brows? I don't know. I guess it's definitely better than nothing, but I do feel like I'm having to go over my brows a lot. I wonder if over time with increased usage, if the pigment will come out more easily. But at least at the moment, I don't feel like I'm seeing that much. If you guys have used this product before, please let me know. Let me actually just double check the instructions. Yeah, it doesn't say anything, so I assume I'm just meant to run the product through my brows like this. But yeah, maybe this is meant to just be like a really natural kind of fill in a few sparse areas kind of situation rather than fill in your whole brows. All right, well, we'll leave that there, and maybe at the end I might need a little bit more product in the brows. I mean, actually, looking at myself in the monitor, my brows are definitely looking darker, so I feel like there is a bit of a kind of dark tint that's happening. Do I like this? Do I not? The jury is definitely still out. So moving right along, let's go ahead and get into this eyeshadow palette. So I really love how gorgeous these shades are. I don't know if that necessarily goes with my outfit today, which is a little bit more gold and warm toned, but I do really like these shades, so hopefully we can put together a fun look. So I'm gonna first go into this shade, which is the lightest matte in this palette. And one thing to note with Athr is they do not put a mirror here, which on the one hand I think is really good from a sustainability perspective, but I did just want to note that in case you want to take these palettes traveling with you. They are good travel palettes from the standpoint of being made out of cardboard and thus very lightweight and durable. But yeah, there is no mirror, so I do have to always go in with another palette or compact in order to make sure I can see myself when I'm traveling. They have really beautiful mattes that are quite easy to blend out, and the shimmers are not really anything kind of in your face. Definitely they're a bit more on the subtle side, but they're really creamy and easy to use, at least in the palettes I've tried from Athr thus far. So if you are someone who is quite interested in clean beauty, I would say that Athr is basically the only eyeshadow brand that I've tried on the market that is marketed as clean beauty that performs quite well. And just because I'm curious, I'm also going to take a little bit of this shade. I mean, I don't think we'll see it a lot on top of the other shade, but because this is my first time dipping into this palette, I do just kind of want to play around with the shades a bit more. Alright, yeah, so this one's a little bit more cool toned, a little bit more mauvey in comparison to the previous one, which was a bit more peachy. I think they are very similar in depth though, so you definitely don't need both of them. So now I'm going to go into this mid-tone shade, and I'm taking this on a Wayne Goss number 17 brush. And so I'm going to use this to start deepening up this look. I do want this to be a fairly smoky look since we are doing this for date night. And yes, I am going out tonight, which is why I'm filming this video. Was it a good idea to try all new products today? Probably not, but we'll see. Hopefully today's look comes together. At least so far I feel like the products are going on quite nicely. Maybe I'll do a halo eye actually. I'm just sort of, I don't know, I feel like whenever I try out new palettes, I just like to kind of explore all of the shades and put them all over. Hopefully this doesn't get too muddy, but at least we will see how all of these shades look. Now I'm going into this deepest matte. I was actually planning at the beginning of this year to cancel my IPSY subscription because I have subscribed to IPSY for a while now. It's probably been at least, I guess, 2 years continuously that I've had their Glam Bag X subscription, which, in case you guys aren't familiar with it, basically means that you have their Glam Bag Plus, but every quarter you get a bigger box with more items. So normally the Glam Bag Plus is 5 full-size items, and then every quarter you get the Glam Bag X, which is 8 full-size items. And the items are chosen in collaboration with an influencer or celebrity. So anyway, I was going to cancel that subscription because I was kind of going through, budgeting and thinking about, do I actually need all of this makeup and skincare coming at me every month? But after doing a thorough accounting of which items I've received from IPSY and whether I like them or not, I did actually decide that it was worth it for me to continue my subscription. And so here we are with a lot of new makeup products from IPSY. But I'm curious if you guys would be interested in any content about whether IPSY is worth it, or kind of like running through what I've gotten in the past couple years and running the numbers in terms of which products I actually ended up using over time versus not. Let me know if you would be interested in something like that. I've been thinking about filming it, but I feel like usually my IPSY content doesn't do very well, so I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Okay, so this look is looking kind of crazy right now. We're definitely going to have to refine the edges of that smoke, but it is interesting to me how this is actually not looking that purpley anymore. I don't know if it's because of the yellow undertone in my skin or something, but that deepest, very dark sort of amethyst purple shade just kind of looks black on my eyes. So that's interesting. But in any case, there are so many beautiful shimmers in this palette. I'm not really sure how I'm going to play around with all of these, but let's go first into this one. It seems the most sparkly, so I'm going to put that in the center of the lid. Ooh, okay, I like that. That has some fun twinkle to it. Again, with Athr Beauty, it's not going to be like your Pat McGrath palettes in terms of having really high shine glittery shades. In general, I think it's harder to do that with what is considered clean beauty, but this does have some fun sparkle in it, and this is how the shade looks on the finger, by the way. So now I'm going to take my new Hakuhodo brush, and I'm going to first use some of this shade over here. I feel like it's kind of similar to the shade we just put on, but I'm going to use it to kind of transition into the inner corner. These are definitely not the most pigmented or high impact shimmers, but they're pretty. I'm trying to like really push them to the edge in today's look because it is a very glamorous night look, but I think in general this palette is probably better suited for more of a daytime look. And then I'm gonna go in with this shade, which is kind of like a satin plummy shade, and I'm gonna use this to blend in the outer portion. And to be clear, I don't think there should be rules around what you wear in the daytime or nighttime. I'm just saying that for myself, the look I'm going for right now for nighttime is more of a dark look, whereas if I wanted a lighter look, that'd probably be more of a daytime thing. I am getting some fallout, which I think is okay for now. I mean, I haven't powdered yet. I probably actually should have at least powdered this under eye area, but that's okay. I wanted to first see how this base sort of settles because I haven't tried this foundation before. I don't know how matte it gets or how self-setting it is. All right, I feel like we've lost a little bit of that shine in the center, so I'm going to go back in with that center shade on a finger and just try to build that up. Yeah, we are lacking a little bit of impact for this look. Worst comes to worst, I can always go in with some Pat McGrath Blitz Astrals later on, but I do want to give this palette a chance. So now I'm just going to go back in with some of that deepest matte shade just to zhuzh out any edges with that eyeshadow. And then cleaning off that brush a bit, I'm going to just refine the rest of the edges. Oh, okay, I think that's looking a bit better. And then I'm going back in with the Wayne Goss number 16. And let's see, I think I'll first go back in with that mid-toned shade. I'm just kind of doing what I did before, but kind of in the opposite order. I usually like to do this just to really reinforce and blend out what I did previously. And I'm bringing this up pretty close to my brow bone just because I do really want this to be a very smoky, high impact look. I will say though, the more I blend this look out, the more I feel like the shimmers are just a little bit lackluster. I mean, they just kind of look a little bit muddy, not that high shine. Again, this would not be an issue if I was doing just a very light look, but I think for the level of depth we're going for today, it's just not really delivering. I feel like I just keep wanting to pack more shimmer onto that middle area, but I'm not really sure how much more that's going to help. All right, before we go any further, I do feel like I need to get some powder on the face. So I'm going to go in with my Pat McGrath under eye powder and just dab a little bit of that on the under eye area. And I'm using my Wayne Goss medium brush for this. And then I'm also going to just take a little bit of that around the center of my face where I can get a little bit oily as the day goes on. And then a little bit across my forehead as well. And now for the lower lash line, I'm going to kind of repeat what I did on top by starting with that peachy shade, and I just have my Sonia G builder brush for this. So I'm going to just sweep that kind of generously. Probably actually should have done this with a fluffier brush, but I'm going to put this pretty much all over my lower eye bag. And then I'm going to go straight into the mid-tone shade and start adding a little bit more dimension. And now I'm going into that really deep smoky shade. And I'm going to start this really on the outer portion of my eyes and then kind of bring it inward. I will say these mattes have very nice pigment payoff, which is great. It's nice to have the optionality of having a very smoky look like today's. And then for the shimmer on the lower lash line, I think I'm going to actually go into this shade, which I haven't tried yet. And I'm going to focus this on the inner 2/3. I feel like all of these shimmers kind of just look very similar on the lids. It's not really giving me a ton of difference. Maybe, so I'm going to go in more with one of those purpley shimmers and add that. Maybe they'll add a little bit more interest. Alrighty, so I went off camera to do my eyeliner, and I would say that I don't hate the look anymore. I think it actually matches my dress pretty well. I mean, I do look very corpse-like right now, so I'm not really sure it's overall the vibe that I want, but it doesn't look as bad as it did before. I think I still need to zhuzh out some of these edges. And I do have now Utopian Dream on standby in case I want to add something more sparkly to the lids. But I guess for a very smoky look, it's working in that regard. So to finish off this eye look, I'm going to go in now with that very sparkly shade on my mini booster from Sonia G. And I'm going to just drop that into the inner corner area. Just try to put a little bit more light in. I guess actually this shade has a little bit more sparkle than a lot of the other shades did. And then with this shade over here, I'm going to use this for brow bone highlights since I think this is a nice smooth champagne shade. So yeah, I think that's working out. We also have that Lightcatcher later on. Ooh, okay, well, that looks decent. Doing some final blending as well with that Wayne Goss number 16. All right, so now I'm going to zoom you guys a little bit out for the face portion. So because I look so corpse-like right now, I do really want to put something on my lips. And so I'm going to first go in with this mini Ross lip liner from UOMA Beauty. Has kind of a berry tone to it, so hopefully that works with today's look. Still not quite sure how warm versus cool I want this overall vibe to be. All right, and with that on, I'm gonna go in with Iris from Wayne Goss. This is a little bit more muted than the lip liner. All right, well, at least that brought a little bit more vibrancy to the look, so that's good. Now let's add some dimension back. So let's go into this Scott Barnes palette. I am really impressed with just how many shades this has. I'm not really sure where to start actually. Let's go, I'm gonna first go in with my Jumbo Bronzer from Sonia G, and let's maybe start with the lightest shade just out of curiosity to see how that looks. So I'm going to put some of that on this, yeah. Okay, I don't think that really shows up at all on my skin tone. I don't know, can you guys see anything? Alright, so maybe I'll need to try one of these other shades. Interestingly, this one looks a lot more like a blush than a bronzer. Okay, I'm gonna actually take this Face Pro since it's a little bit more targeted, and I'm gonna go into Diced. Let's see, oh, whew, okay, that, yikes, that was more pigmented than anticipated and also very, very gray. Ooh, yikes. I was not expecting that. Ooh, maybe I need to start out with an even smaller brush for this. Oh, that does not look good, man. Let me see if I can actually take some of my foundation brush just to go over that. Oh, that's so gray, wow. Okay, if you want a very sculpted look, I think that diced and maybe sculpt would be good, but on me that was not a very flattering shade at all. And these are actually fairly pigmented, at least this one was. Interesting. I was really excited about this palette because I thought, you know, with this palette I basically don't need any other palette for bronzer or contour, but there's definitely a bit of a learning curve. So I'm going right now with Chiseled, and this seems like a better shade for me. And this is my Chikuhodo F04 brush, my current favorite bronzer brush. All right, okay, that is definitely better for my skin tone. It's a little bit on the rosy side, which is kind of interesting, but at least it's working. So it's definitely doing some bronzing in addition to sculpting, but at least I think the depth level is pretty good. I don't have to be too careful with the application. All right, so yeah, I think this shade works for me. Phew, that's good. I mean, I think that diced maybe would have been okay if I applied it with a very small brush just to the hollows of my cheeks, but with such a fluffy brush, that was not a good idea. Alrighty, well that looks, I think, pretty good. I'm kind of scared now to go into the other shades. Let me maybe take a little bit of Sliced. This seems like a similar depth level, but a bit warmer. And I'm just gonna put this on my forehead where I would naturally see some more sun. All right, I think that shade works as well on days when I want more of a warmer toned bronzer. And then for a little bit more dimension, this is a little risky, but I'm gonna try going in with Frame. Just gonna take a little bit of that, and this one also is very rosy, which is intriguing. I've been actually really interested in picking up a bronzer from Bobbi Brown. She just released a bunch of new ones, and she has, I mean, sorry, not Bobbi Brown, Jones Road, but that's Bobbi Brown's current brand. And her bronzers are quite unique in that they do have a very strong rosy tinge to them. And I've been very curious what that would look like. So I feel like this palette is kind of giving me sort of a sneak peek to what that would look like. And I'm not really sure how I feel about the rosy bronzer. I think mostly it's looking good. Still have a little bit of that grayness from the diced shade, which was in hindsight a very bad idea, but the other shades I think are looking pretty nice. Just gonna go back in with a little bit more of that foundation brush just to clean up any muddiness down here. All right, so we do have some powder on, but hopefully these cream blushes from M Cosmetics still work out. So originally I was going to open all of these three to swatch for you guys, but I think it's probably better actually just to go in with one for today's look. So I'm going to go in with the shade Venetian Rose, which I think is the one that will match the most. And for context, I previously picked up Rose Milk in her previous formulation, and I did not like it at all. It was way too serum-y. There was no color payoff. It just made my cheeks really sticky. And so I'm really glad that she's reformulated, and I'm very intrigued to see how this new formulation looks. So I'm going to use my BK Beauty 109 brush for this, and because this looks like it might be quite pigmented, I'm going to actually first put this on the back of my hand. So here we have the shade Venetian Rose. I do love the shade from M Cosmetics, so hopefully in this reformulation it works out. Oh, that does look really pretty. Just blending it on the back of my hand. And now let's tap this in. Because I am going out with this makeup look, I'm trying to be careful. Ooh, I did bring that down a little bit far. Let's see. Okay, so this still does have very much that highly hydrating finish that I experienced with the previous version, but definitely more pigmentation. Like, I think that's actually enough pigmentation. I was expecting to need to go in for more, but I think this is enough actually. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. I mean, it's a little bit more dewy than I think I would prefer for this kind of evening look. In general, I think this formula is more suited for like kind of your everyday makeup look, but I don't hate it. I think it is at least blending in very nicely in the cheek area. I don't really see it lifting product, which is great. Considering I'm using all new products today, that was a major risk that these products would not play well together. But I think this is actually looking pretty nice. Alrighty. Okay, good job, M Cosmetics. This was kind of my least favorite product in their line when I first tried it. Like, even though I really love this packaging and I've kept it basically just because of the packaging, I have almost never used it since I initially tried it just because it was really poor performing. But this new one is looking pretty good so far. We'll see if it does anything to break down product later on, but I'm digging it at the moment. Maybe a little bit glowier than what I was going for, but if it doesn't settle down on its own, I might just add some powder on top. And while we're letting that settle down, I do want to put a little bit of contour on my nose as well. This is going to be a little bit risky with this palette. Let's open this up again. Okay, so I'm going to go in with my Detail Pro. And let's start with Chiseled. That seemed like the safest shade to go in with. So let's see how this applies. All right, I think that's looking pretty decent. This is my favorite brush for contouring the nose, and so I'm trying to take some of the guesswork out at least by using my favorite tools. All right, actually I think this is looking pretty good. Whew. All right, crisis averted. I was a little bit worried that we would have another repeat of what happened with Dice in terms of that just really gray color, but no, this looks, I think, good for that part of the face. And also just kind of bring that into the eyeshadow look. Nice. All right, so this basically leaves us with the Laura Mercier. So this is technically a powder, but I am anticipating it to be very glittery. So let's see. All right, let's take some on my finger first and just swatch it a bit. Oh, wow, yeah, okay. It definitely looks like a highlighter. Oh my gosh, look at that. I mean, it catches the light, that's for sure. The name is very appropriate. Let's see, do I dare put it directly on this Serum blush? Let me actually first just go back in with a little bit of that Pat McGrath powder. And I'm just gonna put this in the areas kind of closest to my eyes and nose, just where I don't wanna look too shiny. I'm gonna let the cheeks kind of stay in that sort of dewy mode. And now I cleaned off that detail brush. The detail brush is also one of my favorite brushes for highlighter. So wish me luck. I'm gonna first go down the nose because at least this part doesn't have any sort of serum-y stuff on it. Let's see how the powder looks. All right, I think that actually looks pretty good. It's more subtle than I was anticipating based on that swatch. I feel like I can actually put a decent amount on. All right, so far so good. Let's take a little more of that and then try it on the cheekbone. Is that doing much? I feel like because the serum itself is so dewy, applying this on top of it is not actually helping with the glow. I don't know. I guess I see a little bit of glow, but it's a little bit confusing. I don't know. What do you guys think? I feel like I see a band of glow there, but because the serum itself is so dewy, it's not necessarily looking the nicest. All right, let's go back in with a little bit more of that powder. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I think even though this is much improved as a formula, I don't think I really like this serum blush on days when I'm doing a full face like this, because even though it looks really pretty, it still has just so much dewiness to it. I don't think other products really layer on top of it very nicely. And now my cheeks just kind of look a little crazy because there's so much dewiness from the blush, and then I added that highlight, so I think it's a little much. All right, so zooming you guys out all the way, here is the final look. What do you guys think? So on the whole, I would say today's look was a bit of a roller coaster ride. There were definitely some hits and definitely some misses. On the whole, I think the look kind of came together, and considering how challenging it was, I am impressed with the overall look not being as bad as I thought it was going to be. In terms of the products, so I liked this Hydro Grip primer. I can't say for sure the effect that it had just because I was also trying it with a new foundation, but I felt that it did a good job of kind of making the foundation apply more seamlessly. I do think everything is looking really beautiful right now. In terms of the foundation itself, I can't say I'm hugely impressed by that product. It did feel a little bit more thick and cakey than what I was hoping for. That said, I do think my skin looks really nice right now, so, you know, the jury's still out. Again, I can't really fully separate out the effect of the primer versus the foundation, but the skin is looking nice at the moment. In terms of the brow pen, that product's probably the most confusing product I would say of today. I still can't really tell if I like it. I think my brows look decent right now. They don't look too sparse, and so from that standpoint, I do like it. But I do feel like I had to spend a lot of time really building up the product to get it to this point. So I'll have to keep trying it out and give you guys an update on that. In terms of this eyeshadow palette, I think the overall look I got today was nice, but in the future I would probably go into this palette more on a day when I want a really soft kind of everyday look, because even though the mattes were really beautiful and blended out nicely, I think I'm just still not getting kind of the impact that I wanted from the shimmers. And so I'm leaving it like this now just because I feel like it still does match overall the vibe of the look and the vibe of the dress that I have on. So I'm not mad at the look by any means, but it took a bit of work and it definitely didn't give me as much shimmer payoff as what I usually go for with eyeshadow. In terms of the Scott Barnes palette, this was probably the most polarizing product that I tried today. I would say that I really like Chiseled overall, and I think Frame was nice and Sliced was nice. I don't know if I'll use Diced again, or if I did, it would be with a very small, very fluffy brush. Carve was definitely too light, though I don't know, maybe I could use this if I was just wanting to cool down a complexion product. I'm not sure if Snatched or Sculpt are really going to work for me just because those look like a deeper version of Diced. But I am intrigued by Hashtag Shade. I feel like this one looks almost like a blush, so on a different day I might have put this on first, kind of as a blush, and then seen how it looked from there. On the whole though, I'm glad I have this in my collection, but this was definitely a good IPSY item. Like, if I had paid the original price for this and got it, I think I would have been quite disappointed. But because I got this in an IPSY Glam Bag X and didn't pay nearly as much for it, the fact that I might only be able to use a few shades in the palette is not necessarily a problem. I do think this would be really nice though for someone who's a makeup artist and needs a lot of different shades in one place. In terms of the M Cosmetics blush, I would say it seems like they have improved the formula, but I am still just unfortunately not a fan. I feel like it makes my skin look very sticky and very luminous, which, I mean, I'm not against that kind of look, but it's a little bit hard for me to control the finish of this product because it's just so dewy. And I think in general, I would prefer a liquid or cream product that has a little bit more of a satin finish. And in terms of this Lightcatcher, I would say I'm not really sure just based on this initial impression. It is a pretty light shade, and so I feel like on the cheeks it's really catching the light, maybe a little bit more than I would like. I like it on my nose, but I don't really like on my cheeks. I'm not really sure how much that's this product versus the interaction with the Serum blush. So I'll definitely try this out more for you guys and let you know. It is interesting though to see just how shimmery this powder is. As you can see from the swatch on my hands, this is definitely not a setting powder. It is certainly more suited for highlighter, and this is a lot of highlighter. So, you know, from a value standpoint, it seems like a pretty good value. All the other products I use today are ones that I already know and love, so I can definitely vouch for those. But let me know in the comments what you guys think about these products or about today's look. And if you guys would be interested in any content devoted to IPSY, their glam bags, and how worth it they are, please let me know that as well. So that's it for today's video. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!